good, man. Like he's he's such a good dude, man. Like what really won me over when I first met him was when we went over into, well, not met him, but when we went in 06 and Rob Boyston was our coach, New Zealand coach, and we had our Trans-Tasman against the guys up here in Brisbane. And Red got us into like a training at the centre he was running there, and was right after the Aussies had trained, closed session and all that, and we just happened to pop in. And Ross Gregory's face apparently at Red, because Red had Jay had like a season off or something, so he hadn't walked away or anything like that at that stage, but he just was having a bit of time out and that for the family. And so he's let the New Zealand boys in for a bit of a training session. I think Ross was a little bit gutted. Yeah.
Oh, that happens, mate.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's
man.
our sport, though, right?
Yeah. It's awesome, man. Like seriously, man. Like it's an absolute honour to have you around, man. Like seriously, this is really cool.
Like I said to you, mate, I'm in awe
brilliant.
of what you guys are still doing. You know what I mean? Like still playing, and I know it's not just on the body, but it's the cost financially. Like it's huge. It's a massive commitment. So
yeah, we've all put a lot of money in over the years, eh?
100%. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was in the sport for a minimal amount of time, really, when I look at it, in comparison to some of the guys who are still rolling around. And I know I spent thousands. So it's a lot, big commitment.
Yeah, I remember like my first trip away was the '98 World Cup where you and I first come across each other, and like that was 3-4 then.
Yeah, that's right.
To Melbourne, and I think you blokes paid the same amount of money, even though it was
I think
your
we
place,
try to do that though
just
to
spread the cost.
Well, yeah, that's right. So everyone's sort of paying the same amount, as opposed to like you guys paying extra than what we would pay, even though it's our home tournament. If that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
So I know even the English guys, I think they paid about the same.
Right.
So which makes sense, I guess, especially with an amateur sport.
Yeah, and there's advantages to you guys being at home, right? So I suppose it's
true.
like, you feel like I think don't mind paying a little bit more, but at least we're at home, we're not flying out. Trying to get around places. Yeah. So are you still involved in indoor at all?
No,
how long's
not
it
really. Well, that 2001 when we came to you guys for that series, and then just had a bit of a fallout after that series, and then that was it. I just pulled the pin. I just walked away.
Wow.
Just stopped.
Yeah. Miss it?
This stuff I do, you know what I mean? Like I don't miss the week to week grind, but I miss when there's big events on and you get to see it. And
so you still keep tabs on. The sport,
and obviously
social
social media nowadays is good for that, keeping up with what's going on and where events are and who's playing and so that's good. I get to sort of scratch the itch a little bit through that, if that makes sense.
And you got kids around?
2 boys, right? 18 and 15.
Yeah.
18-year-olds just started his first year of work now.
Yeah. AFL or cricketers?
Both rugby, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, cool. Both rugby.
Yeah.
So, the oldest boy plays Colts just at our local club. He played Colts this year and he's going back for next year. He loves it. It's Thursday nights, good group of kids. Let's roll around. And they're a pretty good group too. Like, they play quite well. I think they got knocked out prelim final stage this year. So, it was good. Yeah, they had a good season. And I think they played in the grand final last year. So, that age group.
So what age were you when you finished up in 01? You're still really young, aren't you?
Yeah, I would have
Early
been.
30s?
No, not even.
Late 20s?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, 24.
24.
Yeah. But in saying that too, like my wife and I, we got married young. I think 2000 we got married and went on our honeymoon, come back, and I went to South Africa for the World Cup straight away. And we'd been married 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So
Does she like cricket?
She played. That's how I met her.
Right.
Yeah, she
okay,
played.
Great. Cool.
Yeah. And was a really good player. Like represented Queensland for juniors.
Yeah.
And I think when we stopped, because we both stopped at the same time, she was knocking on the door of being picked in the Open Women's Queensland side.
Wow.
And probably should have been, I guess, at some point.
So why does she give it away?
So, I don't know, to be honest. Like, we just found other interests, like...
What took over?
We became GABA members.
Right.
So we went to the cricket during the summer and in the AFL during the winter.
Gotcha.
So that, and we love that. We still do it now. We still go
that's
now.
cool.
So, it's good. It's good. And I think, too, life priorities change. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's probably one of the main things, especially with sort of how it ended for me. I sort of viewed it from a different perspective.
Do you want to go into what happened?
people.
Well, we'll leave that alone.
Who sees this?
Hey?
Who sees this?
Not too many people, mate.
Well, my son's already asked.
Not too many Aussies. Yeah.
No, look, that tour to New Zealand was obviously the one tour we thought we were going to have for the year. And they bandied around the idea of going to Sri Lanka as well as the New Zealand tour. It never really was spoken about too much. There was it might happen, it might not happen type scenario. And we obviously came to New Zealand, played the test series. We were told prior to leaving that we had to pay a $500 deposit potentially to go to Sri Lanka. I'm not sure if any of the boys did. I can't remember. But we toured New Zealand, had a good tour. Didn't start too well either, just quietly.
Should we go into that?
Later. But yeah, it was a good tour, obviously. We went out and celebrated, come home to the hotel, get our gear, get on the bus to go to the airport. And we get told that in 2 weeks' time we're going to Sri Lanka, you've got to pay your money. And I was like, we've just finished a tour, we're going back home, and then we've got to explain to our employers that we're going again. Like, how does that work? You know, like I'd sort of questioned it a little bit. And a couple of the hierarchy didn't appreciate it because they based the tour on me going and used me as a promotion tool, I would assume. I don't know. I sort of didn't look at it too much. And then, I was just a bit disappointed that they sort of tried to dictate to us that that's what was happening. And I was like, well, I'm not going. Like, I just can't do it. You know, like I've spent 2 weeks in New Zealand or 2 weeks away. And I can't go home and say to my employer in 2 weeks I'm going again.
And 2 weeks is a long time for a 3-test tour, man. Like, played a couple of warm-up matches as well, but that's a long time.
Yeah, I think, we had a bit of a camp before we left. And I think they always try and do that, have a camp before you fly out, and then you acclimatise, I guess, a little bit to wherever you are, and then, get stuck into it. So,
Did you get $500 back?
I don't even think I paid the deposit.
Oh, right.
So that was a bit sour, a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Because for me, the sport has got so much potential, but it just needs to be developed properly, and it needs to have the right people to do that. And I don't think it's ever happened like that. And now for Australia to have Cricket Australia on board, that was a great idea. But what's it done for indoor cricket? Do you know what I mean? I question that. Not that I'm ever going to be the person to take it to great heights, but I just think that the sport has got a lot of potential because it's fast. It's so good to watch. Like for us at nationals level, it's so good to watch. Like it's just everything happens so quick, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the guys who play appreciate it. The people who know nothing about it would appreciate it if they got the opportunity to see it. And especially see it live too.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so fast paced. And a lot happens, like in a confined space, I guess. Yeah.
We were, just before we started up, you and I were talking about, I want to get into owning a centre.
Yeah.
And there's two key reasons. Basically, it's not because I want to get into the business of owning a centre and making heaps of money. It's because I want to see this big, massive growth. I want another 4 courts in the Auckland area because they need it.
Yeah.
I actually think that Wellington need to see another 4-court centre down there, and it would be great to see all these sort of satellite 2 or 3 court centres opening up around as well, so we can spread it around a bit more.
Yeah.
And once you get a model right, that model will usually work in all of those other areas as well. And the key thing is that I've had these conversations with Craig Foster in the last couple of days, Luke Woods, who's on our side, several other people who are, pretty business intelligent
Yeah.
and very indoor cricket intelligent.
Yeah.
You put that stuff together, you get 10 guys together in our sport, and girls together in our sport, who can agree that they're going to get into something that they can be a part of, that will holistically grow this big engine, and not just be in it for at the end of 10 years, am I getting that 20% return?
Yeah.
So if we can shift that mindset away and just look at that growth of that, that dream together, the money, I think, will take care of itself if it's done right.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you around growth and development. We've seen pockets of junior programs in our country, and at my club in particular at North Harbour.
Yeah.
Wellington's another one with Robbie Kerr.
Uh-huh.
Absolute legend in terms of what he's developed in Wellington for like 25 plus years now.
Yeah.
Who are kids who are now playing for New Zealand or have played for New Zealand. They've grown through all the way, and it's because of him.
Yeah.
And the model of being able to attract kids just to play their first game, you pretty much don't have to do much after that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember your first game, but I bet you it was exactly the same as mine, mate.
I love
Yeah.
it. You just fall
in love with it, right?
Instant too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in a cage. It's a gladiatorial environment.
Yeah.
It's competitive. It's fast. The parents love it because it's in and out.
Yep. And it's indoors.
It's
You know what I
indoors.
mean? It's
You're
not in
playing.
the hot sun.
Yeah, and you're playing.
Yeah.
If it's raining, it's snowing, it's sunny. You're playing.
Yeah. And I think too, from a parent's point of view, it's about involvement. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go to an outdoor club, you're not always going to be batting or bowling. You're going to be either batting or you're going to be either the bowler. So I think with indoor, it just gives you that sense of involvement because you've got to do all three aspects of the sport. You've got to do all three aspects of the game. So I think that gives, whether that child's gifted or not, it still gives them the opportunity to be a part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's come time now where the sport really needs to be run by player savvy, sport savvy people.
Yeah.
And with all due respect to business owners, the centre owners, we wouldn't be around if they weren't around. So I'm not disparaged to that. But the actual sport needs to be operated and run, I think, and driven by people who are in love with the sport and really want to drive it forward, like as an administration, not corporate heads. I mean, we want business savvy people involved, but people who are actually sport focused, player focused, kid focused, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff will start working itself out, and we need to look after the centre owners, and we need to look after those people because they own courts that we want to play on, and allow players to train there and give them court time and that sort of thing. So we've got to support them. But I really believe, it's a massive passion of mine, and several mates of mine, we've had really in-depth discussions about it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear that maybe there's similar sort of things actually happening here because you guys are so much bigger, like you're the hub of sport for the sport for the globe. Well, last thing we need is you guys start dying off, and.
I think the biggest concerning point, and that's obviously no disrespect to the guys who are here this week, it seems to me since I've retired and stepped away, as I first started as a colt, as a junior, 15, 16 at the time, I looked up to guys who were playing A grade, and that was my dream, obviously, to play A grade within my centre, within my club. And we had men's A, men's B, men's C, men's D. I think you had one of master sides, which was over 30s. I don't think there was a 35s. I don't think there was, any other older age groups. It was over 30s, I think, at the time. And then you had ladies A, ladies B. And then as the years wore on, it progressively increased in age. Like we then had 30s, and then we had 35s, and now we've got 40s and 45s and 50s, and it seems to me that somewhere along the line, the kids of our sport, or the kids who could have been a part of our sport, would have been today's grade A grade players, were forgotten about for a period of time. It's starting to come back now as the junior ranks, and it's still played worldwide in junior level, but I just don't think they were given the opportunity to do the things that they could have for a period of time. I think that was sort of forgotten about because the the age just kept increasing to keep people involved in the sport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to the Masters competitions, because it's still good to see everyone running around and still playing, you know.
Yeah.
But I think, it's just, it needs to be developed from a junior age. We should be concentrating on, you know, 15s and 16s and 17s and 18s and bringing them through. And I think too, we were saying this Saturday night, it's a pathway now. If you're a really good indoor cricket player, you look at the BBL franchises who are picking up good all-rounders. You don't have to showcase your worth at outdoor cricket as an all-rounder to get picked up to play BBL or, you know, a T20 competition around the world.
Yeah.
You can be a great indoor cricketer and still have potential to go and play in some of those T20 competitions.
Yeah. There's great point. I'm quite starting to get heavily invested in the women's game in New Zealand now.
Yeah.
And Robbie Kerr and I have had really good discussions around this. We spoke about it on our podcast when we had one together, and it was undoubtedly for the women's game in outdoor cricket, one of the major pathways for it is actually indoor cricket, although it's not recognised by the outdoor cricket associations. All the players, if you looked at the Wellington Blaze team, I think it was the Wellington Blaze team 2 years ago, was like, most of the players had come through from indoor cricket. Or had played indoor cricket at a really good level with the juniors going through. Yeah. I think we had some sort of stat, like, I can't remember, but it was like the Black Caps team, White Ferns, the women's team, about 3 or 4 years ago, 9 of the 11 had played indoor cricket. And the 2 that hadn't were actually the best players, Susie Bates and Sophie Devine. Yeah. And they, again, I have to fact check this. I think they came through hockey.
Okay.
And were really high level in hockey.
Yeah.
Susie Bates, I think, was playing boys cricket where she was from Otago, and through the ranks. It's just that's how she got so good. Yeah. Yeah, so it's really crazy for the women's game in particular. You've got this really massive pathway through indoor cricket. Yeah. And it makes sense, right? You have to play the ball late and straight with good technique. You have to be able to bowl. Yeah. And your fielding skill set grows so quickly, right? That's right? I love it, man. Yeah. So it's, really interesting. And it's, again, it's up to... We always complain a little bit about that relationship with the outdoor setup, but really the Indoor Cricket Association, the people involved there, need to take ownership of developing that relationship and really helping them understand it. Yeah. They've got busy lives themselves, let alone, trying to understand indoor and how good it is. We've still got outdoor coaches who, just really run down indoor cricket as a sport, don't want their players playing, and it's like, that's just showing you, one, you don't understand indoor cricket and how it's played for a start, but you don't understand outdoor cricket and how it's played then, because it's so obvious to the players who play indoor cricket how it develops your outdoor game. Yeah. When those outdoor players come into the indoor game, we're not asking them to change anything.
No, not at all.
We're asking them to just play the ball a bit later, which is a good thing for outdoor cricket anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think there's a massive opportunity. You spoke about junior development and real focus on that. I agree with you. But did you see the Dubai Junior World Cup?
I didn't see too much of it.
It was pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, well, one of the guys who's involved at my local club, who I met a few years ago, playing against each other, actually. As juniors, we were playing against each other, and his son and my son actually go to school together in the same grade. And we hadn't seen each other for probably 15, 20 years, And then, lo and behold, one day we're at school and we caught up, and then he loves indoor cricket, loves it. And his son has a real passion for it. Oh. And we just got caught talking one day back down at the centre because the juniors had started up again, and my young fella did want to go down and have a hit and went down. A heap of mates from school went down. And we just reconnected, and my young fella got picked in a touch football side and ended up pulling out of the indoor cricket. But his boy kept playing, and now he's the under-16s World Cup captain.
Oh, right. So who's that?
Toby Collins.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
So it was good. I'd sort of, again, loved catching up with him and seeing it, but it also reminded me of when I first started playing and how good it was, that feeling of excitement, like when you go to a massive tournament and there's so many teams there and you're just get into a centre, and I don't know, there's just something about that atmosphere when you walk in at that stage that just gives you the bug.
Yeah, man.
So I actually went up to the junior nationals this year up at Ipswich for a day and just watched a few of the games up there, and then Toby got picked in the Australian side, and I sort of followed it a little
Great.
bit. So I did watch a little bit of it,
Cool.
but not too much.
Yeah. The thing that really is good for the game overall, and obviously I'm a fan, but seeing the New Zealand teams winning it is really important. I mean, England would hope that they won, or South African team made one of the finals, and I'm sure they would have hoped it had got up as well. But just seeing that it's not an overall dominance by one country all the way through all of the time. We're seeing the New Zealand men's side now, I won't say regularly, but the consistent wins against the Australian guys, and the junior, the under 22s, boys and girls, both are like just incredible.
And you need that healthy competition, mate.
Absolutely.
Like it's no point, like you said, there's no point just having one country dominate. Like that turns people away. Do you know what I mean? Like you need that healthy competition, and you need, especially kids coming through, that know that they can compete at that level and potentially win World Cups, and that's what it's all about, I guess, at the end of the day.
So, going back, like for you, mate, like do you remember your first game? Like, how did you get introduced to indoor?
Through my brother, my oldest brother.
Right.
And at Tingalpa, like the centre that I loved, like that was it. He used to play, my family are quite big, as in regards to like cousins and uncles and aunties. I think mum was one of 11, dad was one of 12.
Wow.
But then obviously my oldest brother and the cousins that I had that were around his age, he's a bit older than me, they all played on a Wednesday night. And I think I just got to that age of 14, 15, 16, and he'd say some nights if they were short, "Oh, you want to come and fill in?" And I'd go, "Oh, yeah, I'll come and fill in." And
so how old you were with your first game? How old?
I probably would have been 15.
Right,
When I played my first game, they were playing like a men's B midweek competition at the centre. And saying that, the competition then, it was massive. Like there'd be 12 games in a night. I think it's not that I was never allowed to play the late game, but it was just 10 to 10 at night it started, and it was midnight by the time you finished. I probably 15, I suppose, and I fell in love with it. I loved it. I loved playing with my cousins, obviously, and my brother. And then through that, I just got asked by the centre manager. She just come and saw me and said, "Are you interested in representing the club at Colts level?" And I knew nothing about that. Like I wouldn't have even known they had
the whole
Super League.
Setup.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what that was.
It's a great name. I love the name Super League. I think it's an awesome club name.
Yeah.
So, did you have outdoor skills in that? Were you an outdoor
cricketer? I played outdoor as a kid. Like through school and representative stuff as well. Like, but I don't know. I never really loved it like I loved indoor, and I loved indoor. I think it goes back to that point of you're just constantly involved. You've got to all three aspects you have to be involved in all three aspects, and I think that's what drew me to it. Like as an outdoor cricketer, I never really focused on batting or bowling, and I did both when I was fortunate enough to do both in outdoor, where obviously not many people do get to do that. But I just never fell in love with it. Like it was always, I just did it because that's what you did. And I don't think there was as many opportunities in sport when I was a kid as there is now. Like I look at the sports that you can play now. It's everything. You can do touch. AFL's become quite big in Queensland, whereas when I was a kid it wasn't that big at all. Obviously your rugby league and your cricket were the two dominant sports, But when I first started playing, it was just, I don't know, something about. And I think too that centre at Tingalpa, which you would never have been to, it's shut down now, but it was upstairs. You walked upstairs, it was elevated, you parked in underneath it, and it was just 3-court centre, but there was just something about that place that, like, I don't know, just made me want to go there all the time. I loved it. I loved it. That centre was like, I even say now, even though the club moved down to Wynnum and amalgamated with Wynnum, I'll still say it's Tingalpa. Like
Right.
it's just force of habit, obviously, but I just loved that place so much.
Yeah.
And then I got the opportunity to work there too. When I got a bit older, when I left school, I got the opportunity to work there, and I guess too that's probably part of the reason maybe that I didn't sort of stay in the sport too long. You know what I mean? Because I lived it for so long. When you're working in the industry and you're playing too, and it sort of becomes your life, I guess. You know what I mean? Like you're there all the time. I used to go there to train when I worked at night. I'd go there during the day to train.
Yeah.
And then when I worked during the day, like occasionally I'd stay and play at night, you know, like so you're just there all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you get that burnt out feeling.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, just it's oftentimes I remember thinking maybe one day I might want to get my career into working at say Auckland Cricket or something like that.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine who worked at indoor cricket at Auckland outdoor cricket said, "Don't do it, mate.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. It'll you love the sport.
Yeah.
You probably that will turn you completely away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to love what that job's about, not so much at what it's representing, you know, in that sport.
Yeah.
I remember it's interesting hearing you say that passion for that centre. Like I had one when we first started. It's actually where I met Paul Bottrell, the first time, and it was at a centre called the Cricket Patch. And it used to be in a warehouse style around the corner, and it was actually it was about 1985, and I remember it's like one of the first Aussie teams had come over. I remember walking in there maybe as an 11-year-old once, just, oh, you know what's this? It's down the road from where I lived, and on the way home from school, and just popped my head in to see what all the yelling was all about, and these Aussie boys are training in there.
Yeah.
And it's but not long after that, it moved to this other centre, and it was quite weird shape. It was just one long, so it didn't have court side by side. It had the foyer and the desk in the middle, and then a court one way and the other court the other way, long ways, brick walls all around, and a mezzanine up top.
Yeah.
And it was just the atmosphere and the vibe in there, and you know, just the smells and all of that sort of stuff, man. It just you absolutely fall in love with the whole concept, the whole setup.
Yeah.
And I would have been 11 and a half, just running out of intermediate cricket.
Yeah.
And just running around, thought I was an okay cricketer, probably wasn't. And but just because you keep playing, because you just keep indoor cricket again, you just keep you play enough, you're gonna get quite good, right?
Yeah.
Quite quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was interesting, man. Like, and then all of a sudden you're there, you're umpiring the kids that you're playing in and around as well, and getting paid for it. And then all of a sudden the men's competition starts at 5:30 or something like that, and then you start catching a glimpse of that, and you're like, shit, what's this all about, man?
Yeah.
And you start watching that, and you're like, wow. And it just engrosses you, man. It just takes you over, right?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And I think too, you know, at that age, when you're young, and you look up to where you want to play, and I think you become influenced by those people that you watch, you know, like, and I think that's where I learnt a little bit of my craft, by watching guys that I loved to watch play, you know, like some of those guys that I watched play and ended up playing with, or against at Super League level, but with at national level and then obviously international level. Some of those guys were like, they were my idols, and I got to live my dream by playing the sport I loved with the guys I loved to watch, you know, like, and that for me was like, that's just, I couldn't have asked for anything more, you know, like that was probably a highlight, and I'm still got some cracking friends because of what I've done within the sport and the people that I met while I was doing what I love to do.
Yeah, it's you and I run a pretty similar path there, man. Because I was around. The first guys I were in awe with was Stu and Boyd Jensen and Keith and Wayne Inoki. You know, like they staple New Zealand indoor cricket legends. You know, and pioneers of our sport. Really, you know, they're sort of the second generation of the sport, and the ones who really had some pretty amazing talent, you know. And, it's just seeing those guys play. I mean, you probably who you're talking about, the guys that you sort of like were your idols.
Alan Wilson was obviously first and foremost, and I think too, watching that 95 World Cup, I mean, obviously I only get to see it on TV, but just to see what he did and the way he did it, you know, under the circumstances with losing Snake, And Snake was another one, mate. Like, and just to watch those guys go about what they did, that was pretty awe-inspiring.
Yeah. What do you reckon made them so good, man? Like their work ethic, their training, natural skill sets?
Well, I sort of don't know too much about Snake as far as work ethic and things like that. I only got to tour with him, twice. But when I toured with him, he was like a big brother. Alan, obviously, I know how hard he worked. And just everything with Al was like, you'd do it, and if it wasn't done right, you'd just keep doing it until you got it right. You know what I mean? He was just that sort of guy. And he's just so professional when he trained. Like, it was just phenomenal. Like, it was good to watch.
Yeah.
And I think you as a young guy, like I was, when I first started training at that level with those guys, I was probably 17 or 18. Like, it just brought you up to their level, like you had no choice.
Yeah.
You did it, and if you didn't do it right, you'd do it again until you got it right.
That's what I found.
And it was the way he went about it, like so focused and get himself into that zone. And then when he got onto the court, it was just, he was a different person. But off the court was just so relaxed and calm, and nothing seemed to bother him too much. I mean, he was like that on the court too, obviously, but just his focus and the way he went about playing games was just, it was
Jay was interesting, when we were talking the other night and saying that, when he got in his first court, he had you, he had Snake, and he had Al Willow at one back, and he was just his first game. He was just sitting there going, "What is going on here?" Like, shit, this is amazing. Like, just to be on the court with these guys. I was really lucky that, like when I first started, it would have been 91 or 92, and I played my first A grade Super League game.
Yep.
And it was with Keith and Stu Jensen. Yeah. And we're at Harbour. We had two teams there. We sort of split up and had two groups. And I was fortunate enough I was one of the Colts coming through, but I was fortunate enough to be sort of split off in the slightly more senior men's group. Yeah. And Keith took me under his wing pretty much. I was a bit of hard work. I was just a bit weird and had a lot of self-doubt and stuff. And so you act out on that sort of thing sometimes and say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and just because you're uncomfortable and you just feel like you have to keep proving yourself all the time. So it was a bit of a learning curve for me. And Keith just took me under his wing and really looked after me, and helped me grow and really backed me. That's one thing I did get from that group as a bowler, because from sort of 15 and a half, 16 was where I really started really getting a bit stronger and really starting to bowl quite quick and developing deliveries and that sort of thing quite young. And so when I got the opportunity to get through and actually get in on the court and play, I was about 17, and they just went, "Man, go for it. Getting fifth over, you go for it, mate." And this is with the pivot, with Macca at first, and then the pivots, the harder balls. And I think that was a bit of a godsend. And again, I spoke about this with Jay. It was a bit of a godsend, because if you're using a burley, you've got to be able to bowl. If you're using a Macca or a pivot, you've got to be able to bowl an off cutter. Like if you try to bowl an off cutter and you're not very good at it, it doesn't do anything.
Work.
So you have to really know how to bowl an off cutter to bowl it. And that was a real eye-opener, because I really worked hard. Not just playing loads and loads of cricket, which I did, and watching loads of cricket, but training by myself. The amount of times I was on a court with one row of lights, people upstairs having cigarettes and smoking, having beers and stuff at the end of the night, and I was on the court.
You're on the court training.
Bowling another 60, 80 deliveries or whatever it was, and putting my body through hell. But that was the real nut of it, and that's the stuff that some people upstairs might have seen, but most people wouldn't have seen all that hard work that goes in. Maybe Willow was the same. Yourself, I'm sure, which I'd love to hear from you, and the stuff behind the scenes that really does all the gets you in a good position. I think you go back to the people who take you under your wing and start to, I guess, help you, train you, coach you. I think
for me, some of those guys became life mentors too, you know, and I think they probably taught me more about life than they did at cricket at times, because they're a lot older than I was. And I suppose the age gap, whilst it wasn't much, I was still in my teens, you know, and they're probably early 20s or mid 20s. So the age gap's not a lot. It's 8 years or whatever it was. But I think they've got a lot more life experience at 25 than you do at 17. I was fresh out of school or still in school when I first started playing Super League at club level. And I think a lot of the older guys that I had then, and Brad Zeller's one of them, and I'll tell him every time I see him I love him, because he's, you know, taught me so much. And it's not taught me so much about cricket, obviously. It's taught me so much about life too, you know. And he became like a mentor to me and was MC at my wedding, and just one of those guys that you can rely on. You know, if I ever needed anything, if I pick up the phone and rung him, I know he'd pick up, and if I needed something, he'd do it. Yeah. You know, he's just one of those guys. But I think, you know, those people, and it sort of resonates with me a little bit now, going back to watching Toby Collins play. Like, I feel like to give back to the sport, or to give back to a kid or someone, is doing what they did for me. You know what I mean? And I think that to me is sort of becoming a little bit more important to me now. So I think, you know, at some point in time, maybe whether it's coaching or whether it's just going back to the local and hanging out at the local for a bit and playing a bit of cricket with a couple of the young kids, you know what I mean? Like just having a hit midweek.
Get in there, absolutely.
I won't be able to walk for a week afterwards, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Did you, so, you know, did you, like, you probably, I know you're the sort of guy that probably doesn't like to hear this, but you're very, very considered by a lot of people to be the GOAT of our game. And I guess for people out there listening to this, they would really want to try and understand, you know, like how, you know, natural talent gets you so far, hard work gets you a lot further. But, you know, it'd be interesting talking to someone like Matt Flores, right, who's the, you know, best leg side fielder in the game, you know, probably ever. And, you know, he's got some certain natural attributes around his, you know, body's physicality and his size, which really help him. And he really makes that work for him. But it's the key things that he actually focuses on and trains that really make him just so good at that level. You know, his ability to read impact off the bat, and player strokes. His ability to stay really and release low, stay low and release low, even though the guy's 6'3", 6'4", you know. And footwork. So speed to ball and that's been a massive focus from me. Now that I'm sort of in that coaching space now, to really help fielders be a lot more efficient on their footwork. Right. So speed to ball. What's that first movement going to be to allow them to get to the ball so much quicker? But it seems like guys like you, and that all came so naturally. Or was that something you really focused on?
No, I think
back in the day,
training was. I guess we trained a lot on fielding exercises, you know, like not so much the batting and bowling, because I think as a cricketer and as an all-rounder, I guess, as we have to be, I think you get the two aspects of the bowling and batting, and there's finer things you can work on to make those better. But fielding is a hard aspect of the game. Like it's really hard, and it's not just like you say about reading the ball off the bat and getting to the ball. It's reading the ball off the net too, if it does get past you. So I think we worked a lot on speed, like you say, you know, speed at the ball and getting your hands in the right position to get the ball, especially for a front court fielder, getting the ball back to the keeper. Or if you do have time to turn and throw, getting your body in the right position to do that. So I think we worked really hard on the fielding aspect. And at times, probably you think it comes naturally, but you probably work a lot harder on that part of the game than you do anything else, I think. You know, you're bowling, you've got a stock ball, you've got a couple of change-ups. You have to work hard on the two change-ups if you've got two. I had one change-up, and it was the leg cutter. But I had to work hard at it and get it in the right area for it to be effective. The in-swinger just was natural. You know what I mean? Like it sometimes it swung, sometimes it didn't. If it swung, it looked good. If it didn't swing, it was probably a leg side. Or, you know what I mean? Like if you get it wrong, it's still part of the game that's the part that's natural to you because that's your stock and it's your standard. Same with batting. Like I had to work hard at batting through a lot of periods because I don't know if going back to, footwork and things like that, I think my feet got really lazy at times and I'd come unstuck plenty of times with the bat. So I still worked at those aspects of the game, but nowhere near as hard as what we did with the fielding. I think the fielding was a big focus. And two, at Clubland, we would say if we can keep a team to under 100, we'll win because we can grind 4 partnerships of 25 runs. So I think, the focus for us was heavily fielding based, I think, at Clubland. Yeah. And then even at national level too and international level. I think the big difference between Australia and the other countries, the biggest major difference is the fielding. Or when I was playing, it was the fielding. Right. Like our guys, like our front court. And when I was 18 and trying to break into the men's, like you had guys like Mills, Wilson, Cockrell, Matthews, these guys are guys that I looked up to and wanted to be like, so it was hard to break into that, like really hard. So, I think that aspect of it, the fielding aspect, was pretty big focus to get right.
From our side playing against you guys, like 98 in particular, which was, you guys had tougher competition at your own state champs than the World Cup, but and it was simply around you guys are just so much more advanced in the right way to play the game, and we were still sort of learning that place with harder balls. We were still hitting flat. Running game plans were sort of non-existent. Yeah. And the key differences, I think, for our takeaways from, say, that competition to even 2 years later or 3 years later when we've met again in 01 was that accuracy. So bowling was all about it. You guys were dead accurate. Like if you only did one thing, you were really, really good at that one thing. Yeah. And bowling to the team's game plans. Yeah. The batting for me was always about you guys hitting it just later. Your footwork was still committed to where the ball was delivered, but not outdoor committed. Yeah. So you were playing the balls not under your eyes at the crease. Foot. You weren't going back or forward, but you sort of were. Yeah. And elimination of outs. So you were eliminating the way you were getting out. Like if you got nicked off or you got poled because it was a great delivery. Yeah. So that happens. That happens, right? Yeah. But you weren't getting caught halfway up the net. Yeah. And you weren't getting run out. And
run outs was a huge focus for us too. Like communication when you're batting. It's not necessarily that you didn't have time to make your ground. If you hit a good shot, you can almost walk, right? It's not far to get there. Well, for me, it's not because I'm 6 foot. But you know what I mean? Like, I think it's that thought that if your partner hits a good shot and it's down and up and it's over the top of your 2-up fielder, well, you're not pushing yourself to get there, if that makes sense. So communication with the bat was a big key for us, like massive key. Yeah. And sometimes it became instinctual because we all knew what we had to do. So I think, guys would just look at each other and know we're going to run. Do you know what I mean? There was no calling yes or no, or it was just we looked and we knew that they were going to take off and you ran. So I think that was a bit of a difference too, I guess. And we did pride ourselves on, not getting run out a lot. We tried to nullify run outs as much as we could, even though you still got run out, but that's brilliance in the field, and that's what you expect to see when you watch the game. Like that's one of the skills. Good calling and forcing guys to have to do something brilliant to get you out. 100%. And they miss you. That's problems. Right. Yeah. So going back to the training and things again, like that was probably another thing that we did a little bit of was the calling and running between wickets and just eye contact with your partner. And I think too that became, if you bat with the same person for a prolonged period, you get to know each other. You get to know each other well. You get to know that person's game, so you sort of know where they're at. And I think you also know that if they miss hit, they're going to call no. So you just don't run, you know. So, yeah. I think that introduction of the third ball, like I don't know what year that came in. Maybe it was before the World Cup, right? 98. But prior to that, you know, guys could just sit and just hit the net and you'd get a single when it hits the net for not even running. So I think the introduction of the third ball then adds another level of excitement because you know that if you miss two, the heat's on, you know, and if your partner's backing up and stops, and then you're just out.
Yeah, now though that you sort of embrace that third ball now, like you don't allow it to, just because you got two dot deliveries, you don't allow it to really force. I mean, you have to hit the third, or run the third, but you would cope with it a lot better under that pressure. I think players and batters embrace that a little bit
become
better.
Accustomed to it now.
Yeah, and of course bowlers are always about, you know, maybe off cut, a bigger way swinger, late and full, you know, but then that's sort of fallen away a little bit now because it's just so...
Having an off cutter and an out swinger.
I don't know, you can do that, mate.
What a leisure.
Yeah, and it's just so that, you know, it's a game of chess around all that, you know, because guys now are still bowling back and feeding field, or even on a strike three, you know. Just keeping it really simple. The other big one for me, and I talk about it ad nauseum with the other guests as well, but the change from 8 ball overs to 6.
Yep.
It was still 8 ball overs when you finished up?
No.
So you were still playing 6 ball overs. It was
So
not
at our
international
national-
level.
At our national level, can't remember what year it was, but I think 96 when Queensland won it for the first time and we beat Victoria in Victoria. I have a feeling, well, that was my first year at Open Men's anyway, but I have a feeling we had like 2 different competitions. So we had a TV competition, which was the National League. And then you also, during that, so that was played over the first 3 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then the rest of the week, you still played round games, but that's when it changed back to 8 ball overs. So that because of the TV and viewing, they just, 6 ball overs, and it was quicker, and game was over within about an hour and a half. Even though they had a 2-hour time slot allocation, it was just a quicker game for the TV purposes. And then the rest of the week was 8 ball overs, and then that was when you they had 2 trophies. You had your National League champion, and then you had your national champion too. So
Which one do you enjoy more? Like,
I love it all, mate. I do. I even now, like I still love it. You know what I mean? I just don't play it, but I still love it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever not love it. Like I loved catching up with the boys last week. I obviously love this, sitting down with you. I haven't seen you for how long, but it's like yesterday. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And we were the ultimate competitors on the court, but off the court we can still be mates. You know, like, and that's the beauty of. Well, that's what I loved about it. It was just So I'll always love it. It's just that I don't play it anymore.
Yeah, I've got a big bugbear over the 6 ball, 8 ball over thing.
Have you?
Yeah, I want to see more cricket, not less.
Yeah, okay.
And I understand the 6 ball over at tournaments and all that. And I'm repeating myself from other podcasts, so I apologise. But it's I understand with tournaments we've got to get games through time slots that people don't want to be playing at 12 o'clock at night. Yeah. We've all seen that when it just gets out of hand.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it. But for provincial and international level, state and international level, we want to see more of it, man. We want to see more cricket. We want to see longer games of chess. We don't want to see average bowlers dictate matches. Yeah. And we're starting to see more aggressive play in the 6 ball over game, which is good. I think that's really cool. But it brings teams closer together, which is great for competition and pressure and all that, but gives almost slightly worse teams a false sense of security. Yeah. Because if you took them to an 8 ball over game, they would end up losing every week by bloody 30 or 40. Yeah. And it's simply because the slightly weaker bowlers, and every team's got weaker bowlers, will go for 14s and 15s and 16s and not sevens and sixes and eights.
Yeah.
Because they're quite there. They'll be really good bats, obviously, but of course slightly weaker with the bowling, and more runs get scored. But I think that there's just more work to do to get that win. I'm struggling to just explain myself, but I just want to, I want to see more New Zealand versus Australia, not less.
Yeah.
And I just think that teams get pulled closer together when it's shorter version.
Yeah.
Great for the spectacle of watching, I guess, but I think that if you want to be good and beat the best, go and work harder, get better. It was the same with the change of the balls, like I get it now, soft impact balls, for safety and all that. That's fine.
But it'd be interesting to know how many high impact injuries were incurred by using a harder ball.
I've got a few bruises on my legs back in the day, mate.
Didn't we all?
Yeah.
But what did you have a bat for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, going back to bugbears, I can't do modified sports. Like, I just don't like it.
Right.
I don't like the fact that we modify things for kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's use a rubber ball when you first start playing cricket, just in case you get hit.
Mm.
Well, the whole idea of playing cricket is that you use your bat to hit the ball. Unfortunately, you're going to get hit. That happens, but it's not. I don't know. I just don't like the modification of sports. Even for rugby, for instance, in Australia, the kids aren't allowed to tackle until they're, I think, under 10s or under 11s. Well, it's hard to teach a kid when he's 10 or 11. You've got to stop touching. You've now got to tackle with your shoulder and wrap your arms. Like, don't modify the sport. The rules of the sport are the rules. You don't modify the rules because the kids are smaller or younger. It doesn't teach them how to play the game any better. And I think too, that's maybe why, as a country, Australia aren't as good as what they could be at 17 or 18. Like there's a lot of kids that have older brothers. Older brothers might not want to tackle them, or they want to touch them because that's what they're taught. They're taught to touch in rugby, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think you teach them to tackle from day dot so that they learn good habits and they pick up the technique of tackling early. And it's the same with playing cricket. Why use a tennis ball or a rubber ball? It's a tennis ball. It's not a cricket ball. Use a cricket ball and teach the kids that, if you don't use your bat, you might get hit and it's going to hurt. You'll only get hit once. You're not going to keep getting hit. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I can understand using a smaller ball or a lighter ball. Not obviously, kids aren't going to use a 156 Kookaburra. They're going to use a smaller ball that they can handle, which is fine. And don't shorten the pitch. The reason the pitch is that distance is that's the rules. Play by the rules, and I don't see why we've got to modify everything. Just that's the sport, that's the rules. If you want to play, they're the rules you got to play by.
Yeah, get on with it.
Yeah.
The change. It'd be interesting to see the changes. Like I don't know what you've seen, but the massive change from say a pivot Macca into a Burley, the softer ball, and again allowed weaker bowlers to become slightly more effective because it was a lot easier to bowl those off cutters and swing the ball and that. Like, I mean, seriously, you wouldn't be a good bowler unless you really trained really hard with the heavier, the harder balls.
Is that the reason why I noticed with you guys a lot at international level when we were playing? Obviously, I found like you guys really tried to soften the ball in the field. You know what I mean? You'd throw it into the carpet and you'd try to soften it right up.
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
Yeah, well, it's a tactic, right? Which is fair enough. But then I, look at the English side. When we played in England in '99, they used the hard rock, and it was rock hard, and it hurt. It hit you, it hurt. But you soon learnt that if you didn't want it to hurt, you just used your bat and hit it.
Yeah.
So I think those differences there, where 98 World Cup we used the softer ball, 99 England tour, 5 tests we used a rock hard ball, and it was like massive difference.
Yeah.
Well, and it came off the bat easier,
yeah,
obviously,
it does,
when you're batting.
but it's flatter cricket, right?
Yeah.
And that was the difference with the softer balls, is that down-ups became a lot more apparent very quickly. You blokes were a lot better at it quite quickly. I think Robbie Kerr was the only guy on our side who was really hitting it that late. Half volleys hitting them in the springs.
And he could hit him off his legs into the springs too.
He was phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal bat and keeper too. It was really that it was a flatter style of cricket, which means the fielders felt like they're in the game so much more. That means that we saw more run-outs, we saw more spectacular catches. Just simply because balls weren't being hit in the top springs so much, and that's not boring cricket. Like I said to Jade again the other day, like watching a down up 3 over leg side going down for 4 is one of the most prettiest shots in the book. I can't play it, but when you see it, you really appreciate as an indoor cricket enthusiast. It's like an on drive.
You know how hard it is to hit, right? Like
exactly.
Because you're turning your body. Well, not everybody has to turn their body inside out, but it feels like you're contorting your body to hit the ball into the 3-leg net. Like it's not easy to do, especially when someone's bowling 140 at you. You know what I mean? Like that's not easy to do at all.
You're swinging at a foot and a half. Yeah, that's right.
It's it's one of the prettier aspects of our game, I suppose you'd say, when you see that happen.
So longer games. I don't know that I'd be a big fan of going back to the harder ball. It's just a different style of cricket, It's interesting getting guys of our era that saw the changes go through and what they, what you see, how you see things developing, and the sport has to develop, has to keep not changing so much, but has to keep moving forward and progressing, and different strategies being brought in and learned from, and it's just interesting to see it. The in terms of like greatest moments for you, where do you see, like, what would be sort of top echelon?
Obviously for me, winning World Cups is the pinnacle, obviously. But I was really, like, not proud. I was sense of pride that I was able to be a part of Queensland's first national win, because I think the guys who went before me and played before me, like, everyone put a lot of hard work into winning it, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. So I think being a part of that first one and that squad we had, like, there was some absolute guns that played in that side. So to be a part of it was pretty special.
The Queensland
win, and then '96, that was pretty special.
Sorry to cut you off, man. There's one thing I wanted to say about that '98 side. Like, extremely honoured. Yeah, not only that was my first New Zealand sort of stuff, but just honoured to be on a court with the guys who were in that Australian side, because some of them would have been their last tour, and they're just indoor cricket legends. They're guys that are just help develop the game, whether they knew it or not. Showed how the game should be played at such a high extreme level, really confident level. There was just things that we took out of that were just not seen before, and Greg Matthews was just a great example. Alan Wilson at cover, just having everything hit him and just tap it in. We're sitting there running. It's like, what the fuck are we doing, man? But then guys who we hadn't even heard of, like Neil Hansey and Peter Schliebs from Western Australia, and they're just sort of the best bats we'd ever sort of come across, let alone Willow and Bergs.
That's right.
Just, what do you do? The communication's great, their confidence levels they just backed themselves. Let alone, John Weber, who was, he was player of that tournament, right? And yourself, even at such a young age, 18 at that World Cup, were you?
No, it would have been 19. Yeah, 19. And like, I look back at that now and I think that, I was lucky to be in that side, really. I felt I was anyway. Like, even '96, what Queensland won the Nationals, and then I get picked in the Australian side, and it was a three-test series against New Zealand in Sydney, and I was questioning why I was picked to play in that, and then '97 was a tour to South Africa, and again I was still a kid, and I just watched some of the guys who had been there and played prior to me even playing in the open men's, playing juniors obviously, and just to see some of those guys who didn't play in the open men's, and then I get picked, and then I'm like, am I fit for it? You know, like you second guess yourself, or you don't second guess yourself, but I had that element of doubt at times. You know, like, am I good enough to be playing at this level? You know, and I don't think I ever had like a really well put together series early on. You know, like where I felt confident and comfortable that I'd done everything in every game that I could. I just don't think I felt that. And that included the World Cup in '98. I don't think I put a whole game together in one game, or a whole week together, if that makes sense. You know, like you want to perform at your peak the whole time, and you want to do well. And I just don't feel like I did that at that tournament. You know, it wasn't until '99 when we went to England, and that was my first year that I was captain, and I felt, I don't know if it was the responsibility of being the captain, but I just felt like I relaxed a lot more and just played a lot better. I don't know. I don't know what that was. And then 2000 World Cup in South Africa was the same, you know, like that semi-final against South Africa, like in South Africa and in their own home tournament. We were lucky to win that game. Like, we needed, I think, 4 off the last 2 balls, Corey and I. And it was just, it was just one of those games that will stick in my memory, you know, like, because it was so hard. It was such a hard game to get into the final. Like, we were a chance of not even playing in the World Cup final, you know, and I was like, and I felt like at that tournament, I just felt like things worked for me there too, you know. And then 2001 was the same. Like when we come to New Zealand, we get off the plane and play the provincial side on the first night and lose. And then everyone rocks up in the shirts the next night to say we beat Australia, first time ever they've lost. And we're like, holy hell, what have we walked into, you know? But that, for me, that rest of that week, I don't know, there was something about that night. I'll remember the last ball, we needed 4, I think, off the last ball to win. It was 3 to tie. And the last ball was a full toss. And instead of having a go at it, I've just bunted it to the 2-net and just walked off, shook hands. And I think it was just that my focus had shifted more towards the test series than the actual warm-up games, because we'd had a camp leading up to it too. And I felt like we were ready to play. But then when we got there, it was just the first night, get off the plane, playing a game straight away, you know. And every country does that, right? You go to another country and they want to put you under pressure straight away. I know 97, when we went to South Africa, we landed and we went on a tour down a gold mine, 2 kilometres beneath the surface, and you had to wear overalls. It was like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
We had to get guys out of the gold mine on trains because they couldn't handle the heat.
Jeez, that's a
you know what I mean? Like,
it's a
yeah, that's
up,
right.
time.
And then we went to a dinner and we're sitting around with the South African guys, obviously, and having dinner, and then the next day we're playing, you know, and it's like they're putting us under pressure. They want to try and burn us out as quickly as possible, you know. And I know every country does that. When you got a visiting team, you want to put them under pressure straight away. So you know, play them against your best state side or your best club side or whatever to try and unsettle them straight away, you know. And I think in New Zealand, getting back to my point there, I just felt like that night sort of didn't really mean too much to me when we were playing the game, and it should have, you know. I'm playing for Australia, like I've got to show a bit more pride in that. But then the test series, man, I just felt like I couldn't have done anything wrong. You know, I just felt like that was the best, one of the best tours I could have played in, you know, like personally.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then obviously those 2 years, 2000, 2001, Cricket Australia, or Indoor Cricket Australia, brought out the Alan Wilson medal, which was like the best cricketer in Australia for that year, basically. And I won that in 2000 and 2001. And they're moments that, you know, you probably hold pretty special. Because it's obviously Willie too, you know, like it's his medal, to win his medal twice. Like that was pretty special.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a pressure cooker. It's one country I've not played in was South Africa.
Yeah,
I turned down 2 tours to go there.
Yeah.
I
You
guess
didn't go in 2000 to the
no,
World Cup.
no,
Yeah,
I pulled out of that, and it was you know, it was around finances, but also a bit of safety and stuff like that. Something going on there, and regrettably, nothing ever happened. You know, the players are safe as hell, and a couple of stories, but that's about it.
And we were the same, mate. A couple of stories, but you felt like you felt welcomed. You know, like the people that we met, and even you go to some centres and there's kids there who know who you are, and you're like, how does this kid know who I am? You know, and my mum kept everything. Mate, my mum kept everything.
That's cool.
So years later, mum's passed obviously, but years later, you know, you're looking back on some of these things, and there's letters from these kids from South Africa to me and Alan Wilson, and I'm like, you know, like that's
special. Eh?
It's like, it's strange, you know. I put professional sports people at the top of the tree, you know, not amateur sports people, but to this kid, like, I think we give him a bat and we give him some clothes and we sent stuff over when we came home. But like, you just don't expect that, you know. I think you just love playing the sport, and it's not that you want to be a superstar or anything like that, you know. I think you love it. You love playing the sport, and then when kids do this, it's like, makes you feel pretty special, you know.
It's a pressure cooker on the court as well, eh? Over there.
Man, the crowds are unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, like, Knuckle, obviously. He's probably one of the hardest guys, as in hard-nosed guys I know. Like, he was just a fierce competitor, like the ultimate competitor. And we're playing, I don't even think it was a test match. I think it was just a tour game. And we're playing in a centre where it was pretty hostile sort of environment. And there's this guy at the back of the court, and he's just into Knuckle where he's keeping. He's just into him, just like baby face, and he's yelling out. And that's the first time I don't know if he was or not, but it's the first time I looked at Knuckle and thought, he's fearful. This guy's a bit scared that this guy's going to jump through the net. You know what I mean? Like, it was, but the guy, look, they asked him to leave because he was just going over the top. But I think that was the first time. It might have even been the first night we played, actually, when we got into South Africa. And I think that was when I knew, this is going to be a cracking tour. It was just, that was 97. That was good because we toured around in 97 a bit. Drove around by bus. And the bus driver, man, he was just the nicest guy and took us places that you wouldn't go to, you know what I mean? He really embraced us and showed us his country and showed us the good parts, showed us the bad parts too. But that was one of the best tours I went on. It was
awesome. Coach-wise, you only really played under one, didn't you? Was Ross the only one?
No, Louis. David Lewis.
Sorry, David Lewis at the beginning.
Had Louis early on.
98,
96 to 98. And then Ross took... Oh, no, Louis was 99 too. So Ross took over in 2000.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. On 2 tours with him.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, those guys are obviously great coaches. Don't get me wrong. Like, Louis was a fantastic coach, you know, and the nicest guy. Like, just, and Roscoe was the same, you know. Like, I didn't like Victorian cricket as much. I had a few run-ins with a few of them. But, you know, I mean, Roscoe was a great bloke. And I think, too, made me feel real comfortable when he took over. Like, took me aside and said, oh, mate, look, you know, you're the captain of the side. You know, we want you to be the captain. There's no pressure on you to, you know, do anything different. What you're doing, we love. You know, it just made me feel real comfortable. And that sort of puts you at ease a bit too, especially when there's a change of coach, because you never know what's going to happen, right? And then, like, obviously, club coaches, like I said before, like, these guys were my mentors, I guess. And not just about cricket. And Brad was that. Yeah, he was my club coach at A grade level. And Steph was my Colts coach.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate.
So, like those guys, taught me everything I know about the game. There was points where Brad would say, like, I don't know what more I can teach you, you know what I mean? But I remember him picking me up to go to A grade training and things like that. And he'd have, like, A4 exercise pads, you know, like the A4 size. And he goes, have a look at this. And you just open it and it's fielding drills, batting drills, like bowling. And I'm just like, this guy's unreal. he's got everything written on paper.
He's got too much time on his hands, man.
Man, it was unbelievable. It was like there's a dictionary of indoor cricket drills, and I'm just like, this is awesome. So yeah, he was really good. Taught me plenty, more than I can sort of repay him just with a thanks. Like there was so much that he taught me about the game.
Yeah,
and two, because he took me under his wing and he'd pick me up. I never had driver's license. I was 16. You know what I mean? Like he'd pick me up, take me to training, pick me up, take me to games. Just taught me everything pretty much.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty good from a coach's perspective. He's a nice guy too.
Well, you're all nice guys.
Oh, man, I don't know. We have our moments, right?
Yeah. I'd love to. Yeah, be great to at some stage get an opportunity to talk to guys like Alan and that, and get their insights. Like one of the key reasons I started this was because in New Zealand there's pretty much me, Corey Todd, who's still playing some club stuff and now getting into coaching, which is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And Robbie Hyman's still playing as well,
Is he here this week?
Robbie? Yeah, Robbie's here. Yeah. Robbie's here, man, playing for the 50s. If we can get him off the physio's table, man, and roll him onto the court. And so, like Robbie was playing just before me, and Corey and I were playing Colts against each other for quite some time back in those early 90 days, mid 90s, and we're sort of the only guys. There are a handful of other guys still around the scene, and I'd rattle off their names, but there's not many guys around that understand who the Jensens were, who the Anokas were, the Phil Hollings, Kirby's extremely well known, but there's a whole bunch of players. Dave Fulton, only he's still hanging around the sport and just still around, ex-New Zealand captain. Yeah. He was the first captain of New Zealand I saw in, I'm pretty sure he was captain in 92. Yeah. The Trans-Tasman series in New Zealand. And, right. These guys are just pioneers of our sport. Yeah. And I wanted guys like Victor Davies and Stacey Hyman and Michael Barry and those superstars of New Zealand indoor cricket now, still knowing who those guys were and what was so good about them, and what they were about, so that they could really understand. Lee Kelly, just an absolute New Zealand legend. And Craig Foster's here from our 98 World Cup. Yeah. It's just awesome to see those guys still around. And but I wanted the new guys to know who the old guys were and how special they were and how talented they were and what the game was like back then. And I sort of felt like, well, if someone doesn't come and do this sort of thing, then how would they ever, just be lost? Just be lost. There's not a lot of video footage.
I was going to say, there's not a lot of footage, really.
There is now. There is now. Well, now, like games played now. For the last sort of 10 years, there's YouTubes all over the place, which is awesome. But for those games like 95's, probably, unless someone's got some footage like from an 87 Youth Steel Cup or something like that, 95 is probably the earliest we've seen on YouTube now, and that World Cup there.
See, I don't even think there's much of that, really. Is there? Like I've got a VCR. I've definitely seen one game, the opening game, England Australia. Is on there, right? Yeah. But the 98 World Cup, I've got videos of the games on there, and I've digitised them. Yeah, nice. So I've only just got to put them up, and it was the TV coverage that they did. Yeah. Which is awesome. So, I should put that up. Keep in contact and sort that out. Because I don't know if you remember the umpire, Jason Rhodes. So he put up a load, He had all of it, right? Yeah. But I don't know if it's up or I wouldn't even know where he is now, you know what I mean? Right. I don't know if he's in Victoria, because he did move to Victoria at one point. I haven't spoken to him for years.
Yeah, right.
I don't even think he was umpiring when I finished playing, to be honest. I think he'd stopped.
Yeah, he sort of fell off the radar a little bit, which is unfortunate. He's a good guy, man. Really nice guy, good umpire too.
Yeah, very good.
So that's a key reason why I'm doing this, and then coming over here this time, I was just like, man, I'm going to regret not taking the gear over. And, you know, that's when I contacted you a few weeks ago and Jay, and just thought, shit, man, if I got you guys together in a room, you know, I wouldn't even have to talk. You know, you just let you guys run with it.
It's funny because when you sent that message, I was thinking about Jay, you know, like obviously in must have been 96, I actually moved up. He was from the Sunshine Coast. And the centre owner at Tingalpa owned the centre at the Sunshine Coast at Kawana Waters as well, you know, and I was working at the centre at Tingalpa, and he said, I've got an opportunity if you're interested, if you want to move up the Sunshine Coast. And Cole Robinson, I don't know if you know Cole Robinson, but he was like pretty influential when I first came into the game. He was playing open men's, and you know, was one of those guys who just wanted to win a national title, you know, like really diehard Queenslander, really just put everything into his game. He was running the centre at the Sunshine Coast, and I ended up moving up there for 12 months. And that's when I first met Jay and Corey. Mate, our Colts team up there then, oh my God, what a side. But we just never put it all together, you know, like we had a great side, but just couldn't put it together. Scooter Gardner was up there. Obviously Jay and Corey. Then Matt Jenkins was up there too. And then just a heap of other guys who were just great cricketers, you know. And we were up there for 12 months, and meeting Jay up there for the first time, like felt like he was in primary school, man. It was that long ago. Yeah. And he probably was, maybe, I don't know. Corey was only in high school. Probably would have been grade 10, I suppose, Corey, or grade 11 maybe, I don't know.
Their mum played, eh?
Yeah.
That was the reason why they got into cricket.
Yeah.
They were just hanging around centres because mum was so good. She was a gun.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to think about Jay, like back then, he was such a little jack in the box, eh? Just so much energy, like just always on the go, shadow boxing everyone, like just a funny kid, you know. And obviously now he earned his right to do what he did. Like he was such a hard worker and trained hard and just talented, man. Jeez, he was gifted. Yeah, so
it's funny. He said that he wasn't even really a keeper when he first started. It was just an opportunity to get on court, and he was handed the gloves and was okay at it. And
you know what, man? He tells you that, but he was always like one of those kids who just needed to be near the ball, and I think keeping was the perfect position for him because even if you're in the field, he'd be whistling at you to throw him the ball, man. You know what I mean? Like, and as the keeper, like you're going to touch the ball nearly every ball. Yeah. So you may as well be the keeper if you want to be that.
Yeah, and then he just got to train having his bowler bowling 160 clicks at him all the time. And he said he was the easiest to face because you knew that you were getting the ball as the keeper. Yeah, because guys don't handle him. He was just rapid, too rapid. Quick as I've ever seen.
I remember as a Colt, we'd say to him, Corey, just hold the ball across the seam and bowl as fast as you can, mate. And just, if you hit people, you hit people. We don't care, you know what I mean? Like, just bowl as fast as you can, because everyone wanted to see it, right? And I think, you know, going back to Corey, that footage of the New Zealand reporter in 2002, like, that goes down into folklore, right?
Yeah, it's always brought up. It wasn't even that quick. Yeah, I don't know why that guy thought it was a good idea to do that. But then Corey
had his jacket on still.
Yeah,
like
and Corey then bounced him, just first. Unbelievable.
So I think, you know, like, yeah, you look back and he was probably one of the quickest ever faced. Daniel McLaughlin was pretty sharp, but being a left-hander was just so awkward to face. So awkward to face. And yeah, I remember fielding at second up when he first made the Aussie side and we toured. That was 2001, New Zealand, actually. Yeah, it was. And I remember going into camp and catching up and just him bowling, and you hear the ball fizz coming down the wicket. It hasn't even bounced yet. You could just hear it fizzing as it goes past, and I'm like, this guy's sharp, man. He is electric. So, yeah, that was pretty...
He just seemed to have almost that perfect load up for such a short run up, and to be able to get the maximum energy out of a guy who was already strong, right?
Yeah.
Bloody concrete like that.
Yeah.
Bricky. He's just so big that and strong. That he just had the perfect load up action to be able to exert all of that energy.
Yeah. But so smooth in his action.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I
yeah.
felt like at times, personally, I have to really. He was just like perpetual motion, mate. Like it was just, it all just happened so smoothly for him, and it was like to bowl at that pace and never ran at the crease hard. Or didn't seem to. He'd probably tell you he did, but I don't know. It just didn't look like it. Just looked like it was just so fluent. And then when it come out, it's like, holy hell, that is rapid.
Yeah, no, he's easily the fastest I've ever seen. I didn't have the privilege of ever seeing Daniel in real life. I've seen him on video, and yeah, he looked quick. Because it's tough on TV when you see it. You have to probably have played the sport and really appreciate when you see a guy on TV, trying to appreciate actually how quick he is.
Yeah, for sure.
You usually get it out of the reaction of the batters.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, you're watching the batters actually, if they're starting to play real late and jamming down, you probably think, yeah, okay, the guy can probably get through. Yeah. But yeah, seeing, like I remember, I told the story to again to Jay the other night, but in that '98 final, 800 people in that glass house. Yeah. I remember Corey bowled fifth at Robbie and Scott Finlay. Yeah. Who actually came off with runs. Yeah, and actually we had started really well with Birdie and Robbie Bird and Donks. Had actually started off for us really well too. Yeah. Chasing, because we were going for a few and then dropped off. But Robbie came off that court and had this look on his face of just that's the quick. He said that's the quickest thing I've ever faced ever.
And we actually felt that wicket wasn't for Corey.
No, it was fresh.
Because it was
brand new, spongy turf. Yeah. You don't want to face him on 3 or 4 year old pitch. No. Yeah, no. It was. I've faced him once in the O2 World Cup. Yeah. And glad it was only one ball. Yeah. Glad I faced him, and glad it was only one ball. He was seriously quick, and I remember Bott saying after that '98 final, he said, I don't think he'll ever bowl that fast ever again, just because of the atmosphere. He obviously, he's a new kid on the block for that team. Yeah. Given the final spot. Yeah. There's a couple of guys on that bench who you would think might actually be on the pitch, right? And he got selected. We didn't expect that. And he was just given the fifth. Yeah. Go and do your thing, mate. And the crowd was just right in behind him, and he just soaked it.
And I think that came from, some lead-up games too with the crowd, as far as sort of raising the atmosphere in the arena at the time.
Watching a guy do what he does like that in the crowd must have been real cool. Exciting, man. Really exciting.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, no, for you guys.
For us, sorry,
you blokes. It's all right. It's okay. It's all good. Yeah, no, the great experiences, and like you say, man, results are one thing, and that's one thing we're learning about these Masters things, results are one thing, but it's off the pitch times, it's the times with oppositions, meeting people who you're fierce competitors with, and then you're off the court having a beer and getting on so well because you've got so much in common, man.
That's right.
We're so similar, indoor in New Zealand attracts a slightly different type of character. Yeah. There's sometimes they're a little bit loner sort of people, or people who are just searching for something a little bit different. It attracts those sort of people, and so when you get to meet people either from England or South Africa, they're quite like-minded, right? Yeah, for sure. And I haven't met an Aussie girl or guy that I've never haven't got on with, and had really good conversations with. Yeah. So it's really interesting. Yeah,
I think being so close to, it's a 3-hour flight. You know what I mean? Like we've all. And I think too, our countries are very similar sporting wise. Like the rugby league, the rugby union. Even though far out, I shouldn't say we're similar in that regard. We're terrible at rugby at the moment. But the cricket, it's the soccer too. Yeah. Even now, it's huge. You know? So I think we, as two nations, we all have similar interests. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So you're right. When you do get to meet up with people who are like-minded, it makes it easier, right?
Would you consider looking to get back into some coaching and stuff like that in the sport?
Oh, coaching, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think playing. Like I had a game this year, Super League. It was the memorial round for a guy who played at the club. Well, he played at both clubs, and when the two clubs play, they have a memorial round for this guy.
Nice.
And it's a nice night. And I played that night this year, and I loved it. But the body can't do the things the mind's telling it. You know what I mean? Like, I still think that I'm 21, 22.
You've got
on
you
the
talking
court.
to the wrong audience here, mate. Telling you,
Mate.
I've got a few years on you, buddy.
Yeah,
Still
I know.
doing it.
But I, like I said earlier, I just can't believe that some of the guys who are here still running around now are still doing it. I'm a little bit jealous that I can't do it. I just don't think that the body.
I'm extremely fortunate. I don't. That's not lost on me.
Have
at
you
all.
had any major injuries?
No. When I was 16, I had a dual stress fracture in my lower back, and that was because I was basically trying to bowl as quick as I could in outdoor and trying to bowl 5 to 10 games of indoor in the winter, and it was just too much for a growing body, And that was when I was 15. But you know what? It was actually a bit of a blessing in a way, because that got me into swimming.
Oh yeah.
And I went to a really good physio, who was up to play with cricket.
Yeah. Okay.
She was really up to play. Had done some work with cricketers, bowlers in particular, and just said, you should have a look at getting into some swimming.
Yeah. Okay.
And when you start thinking about swimming and fast bowling, it actually all starts making sense, because great fitness for a start, but
and it's a different type of fitness too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But getting yourself through the water with the arm strokes, at the core, everything about the middle of your body and your legs, it all become stronger and more stable.
Yeah.
And that helped build up my lumbar muscles through my back and support everything that was going on with the spine.
Yeah,
and aside from that, I already had a pretty good action.
Yeah.
But it made me just adjust. So I'm a little bit different. I'm not side on and I'm not front on. I'm about 45.
Yeah. Okay.
But I've just worked a way that I was able to get that action without pain.
Yeah.
And then you start strengthening up, and all of a sudden you're rocking and you're away. But that point was when I actually started turning heads and started bowling about 1.5 yards quicker.
Yeah. Right.
And then worked on seam position, so got an away swinger going really nicely.
Yeah.
Started watching, idols in the sport, like for me, Chris Pringle early on, who had just this off cutter that was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he bowled it in outdoor as well. I could never got the off cutter going in outdoor. Weight of ball. And trying to get that rotations over with that sort of weight of ball was really tough for me.
Yeah, okay.
But for indoor, obviously worked okay. But I got my off cutter from him. And then Simon Dool, who swung the ball both ways with the same action.
Yeah, yeah.
And just thinking, I'm not 6'3" like Spike, but I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I want to bowl 5th over. I want to bowl 13th over like Spike.
Yeah.
I want to be the important bowler, the go-to bowler, the guys who goes gets wickets and leads from the front that way. And so that was a real big influence for me.
Yeah, cool.
But it was so I was watching those guys and just learning how to bowl quick.
Yeah.
And learning how to stress the body a bit.
Yep.
How to get through that action and really let everything go. And again, doing that by myself, no batter, 1 row of lights on.
Yep.
10:30 at night after I'd already played a game and umpired 4 games or something. I was on the court.
Yeah.
Just things like that, man. It made the real difference.
Yeah.
You remember a guy, Franklin Rose, used to play for West Indies? No. West Indies opening bowler. He was about very early 2000s. Awesome dude, really, really cool.
Yep.
Big opening bowler. And I remember having a conversation. He came to play club cricket over here maybe about 12, 13 years ago.
Okay.
Over here, back home. And he's a really good dude, man. We had some really good chats and stuff.
Cool.
And I remember saying, if you want to, for West Indian bowlers, the way they learned how to bowl quick was by bowling quick.
Yeah, yeah.
gym, no gym. Might run some streets every now and then. But if
Yeah.
they wanted to get bowling fit, bowling quick, and can do it for
Long periods of time.
periods of time, they do it.
Yeah.
That's actually
That's
the
how it
key, you know,
works,
and
yeah.
listening to your body, focusing on different aspects of the action while you're doing it,
Yeah.
all of that sort of stuff. And obviously there's coaches around and helping you with techniques and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how they did it.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really incredible. There's such a weird sort of body mechanic, right? Bowling.
Oh, it is, yeah.
So I think having a smooth action really helped me get through that. And you know, I've tried to bowl as fast as I can indoors and outdoors for 30 years.
You're still doing it now?
Not as quick.
Still trying though?
No, still trying. Yeah, still trying. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit harder now. And I'm not the fittest guy
That
around, man.
competitive instinct, it doesn't leave them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, and I've still got a job to do for my teammates as well.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like you've got to be on.
Yeah.
But it's like, for a long period of time at home. I think I was very fortunate that batters would play the me, not the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're already in a bit of a shell around, it's the off cut, is it the airway swing, or is it the in swing, or, you know, like already a little bit doubted.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going to
Bit
play on that, aren't I?
advantageous for you.
Yeah, advantageous, yeah, definitely. But you can't play on that because when you start getting up the levels, the guys are there to do a job, you know, so you have to be good.
Yeah.
You have to be really good. And that series in 01 was a massive turning point for me in terms of mental self-confidence.
Yep.
Because it takes a long time to learn how to play that level, right? Whether it's outdoor cricket or indoor cricket or any sport at a high level, international level, whatever it is, takes a few games to get used to being yourself at that level.
Yeah.
And in 01, it was a bit of a strange thing. I got dropped. I sort of was hoping to get selected in that 01 series. I was at home, it's available, playing okay, not brilliant,
Yeah.
and didn't get picked. And so that really sparked me for our first game. It was my one opportunity to still play against you guys, against the best, and just prove a point, you know. And
Did you mean to bring this game up again?
Yeah, a little bit.
Was that intentional?
no, sorry, mate.
No, it's all
But
good.
it was just a massive motivation, and because I
Yeah.
came away successful in that, you know, you sort of go, man, I actually
You
sort
can
of do
compete at that
belong,
level.
you know,
Yeah, yeah,
I do belong
100%.
against the good players.
Yeah.
No, definitely a highlight. There's no doubt about that. Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right, mate. I'll try not to lose any sleep about it.
I'm sure you don't.
No, I'm pretty sure
You
I
told
have.
me before you didn't even care about it. That
Well,
hurt.
it's not that I didn't care about it. I don't think, I don't know. There was just something about that night, you know what I mean? I don't know. There was something about that night that I just thought, let's wipe this. Let's
Right.
wipe this.
Yeah.
Not from the memory bank, but just let's wipe this game. Like, why do we even need to play this game?
You were
Do know
already
what
in
I mean?
another
We were-
headspace to play the test.
Yeah, like we were, because we'd had that camp leading up, and I don't know, it just felt like that we were ready. Maybe we were ready, maybe we were too ready. And then you go and play a provincial side and you think you should win, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not being disrespectful to the provincial side, but a country should beat a provincial side and a state side, you know what I mean? I would expect a New Zealand touring side to beat our state sides, you know, unless it's ACT, of course, because it's the florist show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would expect that, you know, like good, and every country has a good first side. Like even our competition in England against England, it was hard cricket, you know, and we had to play well to win. You got to play well to win. You're playing an international game, you know, like so you're playing the best cricketers from that nation. So I don't know. I just felt like maybe we were too ready, you know, and forgot that we had to probably play a warm-up game before we hit the ground running for the Test series.
Yeah. It's a good point. We've got a change of the guard a little bit over the last couple of years in New Zealand in terms of the lead side, the dominating club side, and it sort of shifted down to Hawke's Bay now, which is great. Oh, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
They've got some talent down there, man. They're young. They just move around the court so much quicker than us, and you know, we are a little bit older, but we're still very, very competitive.
Yeah.
But I reckon at that nationals we played this year, we had the top four sides were gunned. Hawke's Bay led the way there, including Harbour and Central, and the other two teams, and Hutt was the fourth side from Wellington. Certainly not fourth, but in that top four, they're gun. And then the next three sides basically could make the final.
Yeah, that's good then.
So you get 7 teams there who really are good. They're really talented and could be a banana game for you any day of the week.
Yeah.
That's really heartening. That's really heartening.
It is.
And
good
a lot
for
of
the sport, right?
the age of those teams as well is really good. Like apart from Harbour, where our average age, thanks to me, is over 40 now.
You've built that up.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it would go back down to 22 if I dropped out. Apart from that, most of the other teams are either sort of early 30s or mid to late 20s. Apart from the Hawke's Bay team, which would probably be early to mid 20s.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Which is exciting. It's really exciting for us. And a couple of guys out of Hawke's Bay have played for New Zealand, whether it's at open men's and junior representation.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And they're all doing it out of one court.
That's handy. That's good.
One court.
So is that where you're going to buy your centre then? Build a 3/4?
No, thankfully, my understanding is that there's a bit of a conglomerate down there of 3 or 4 guys that have done this 1/4 with this big future vision of having like a 3 or 4 quarter down there, which would just be outstanding because it's a beautiful place, part of the country for a start.
Yeah,
you'd live there in a heartbeat, and really strong in cricket and attracts. It's sort of like for cricket in that area and outdoor players and parents all sort of know you have to travel a bit of a distance to play that cricket because it's all a little bit far-reaching in terms of distance. And so to go and play a game in the centre in the middle of the bay would be fine. It's no problems. And like you say, get them playing a couple of games and they love it. They just get straight into it. Yeah. One of the kids played that real special innings in that 17s final, Oliver Beale.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just outstanding, really handy outdoor technique and just took it, which was pretty amazing. They've just played no fair cricket, man. Like I said to you before, before we started, there just doesn't seem to be that old school fear of the green shirt anymore. Yeah, and absolutely no disrespect about it. It's just a really healthy attitude now for the young guys,
Which I think you see that too, like that's what sometimes turns the tide a little bit when you do have a good core young group that have no fear. Sometimes that can be the difference between winning and losing, you know what I mean? That can then all of a sudden re-energise the guys who have been there for a while because there's a new group that are coming through and it might only be 3 or 4 kids, but that can boost the energy of the other guys who have been there for a while.
And all of a sudden one of their mates has come down and watched and gone, can I get in on this, And then you started seeing that growth that way as well. So mate, let's wrap this up, man. It's bloody awesome. Jeez, we've been going well, dude. We could, man.
No, it's been awesome, man. I appreciate you.
Glad I reached out. It's awesome, mate.
It's so good to catch up, obviously. It's been a long time.
That's cool, man. I really appreciate it. So thanks heaps.
Cheers,
Awesome, bud. Cheers.
Man.
On ya.